The NHL newsreel is already spinning, but we're staying on top of things on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Big time Thursday edition with Solo, with your boy, breaking down all the top news across the NHL, including who is the number one goalie in Edmonton. Andrei Svechnikov still not back in Thursday's big time betting board. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, everybody? Hockey heads, fantasy fanatics, and degenerate gamblers. Welcome back inside the lab to your source for fantasy hockey news, the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. It's a Thursday edition, riding solo just with your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. And thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. It's been a little while, my friends. It's been a little while since I've been on all by my lonesome. I already miss Steele for holding me down, especially on the ones and twos. So don't get too overly disappointed. My boy will be back tomorrow for the Friday episode. But already there is a lot going on around the NHL. There are some angles that we need to talk about because it all will impact your fantasy team. I'm going to get to my big time bets at the end of the episode. Got a couple of spicy ones. It's been a solid start to the betting board for both Steele and I. So I'm excited to break down Thursday's 7-game betting board for sure. But I have to come on this episode and talk a little bit about a topic that I think we've talked not too much about, but enough of, and the goaltending situation with the Edmonton Oilers. Stuart Skinner, Jack Campbell. Campbell getting the start in game 1 against the Vancouver Canucks. I'm recording right now while the game's going on, so I can't speak to Campbell's performance, but there was a lot of narrative around this subject and this team in this position all off-season long and over the last couple of seasons. So I'm going to kick off the show there, but also just to tease it up a bit, Andrei Svechnikov, the Carolina Hurricanes, a club that we know has struggled with goal scoring. Another little bit of injury news here. He is going to miss the opener. His ACL recovery continues. I'm going to talk quickly about that. But why don't I kick this off with just a very intriguing conversation, because Jack Campbell is the confirmed starter. He's playing right now. He should be that number one for the game 1 of the NHL season for the Edmonton Oilers. And this is quite intriguing because not only is Jack Campbell only rostered at 44% in Yahoo leagues compared to literally double that with Stuart Skinner at 88% in Yahoo leagues. All summer long, we all thought it was going to be the youngster in Stuart Skinner taking that cage, as he did throughout the end of last season and throughout the playoffs. Yeah, he was shaky in last year's postseason. I'm going to bring up those numbers right now. 883 save percentage and a 3.68 goals against. But I think what we saw from him during the regular season was very solid, 29, 14, and 5 with a 913 save percentage. And it seemed like the Edmonton Oilers had their guy. Yeah, sure, maybe around the league from outside Edmonton, no one really saw this kid's rise. But in Edmonton, they were expecting this kid to be the future in terms of goaltending, a position that has been very up and down for this club over the last handful of seasons, maybe the last 10 seasons, if you will. But so much talent up front, we have to focus in on what the clear weakness is, and that's been in the blue paint. So the fact that Jack Campbell gets run out there for game 1, is it a bit of a shocker? Is it a bit not expected? Sure. But let's remember, they have a lot invested into this goalie. $5 million a year salary cap. He has the term as well. They don't really care, I think, who is the goalie that takes the reins in Edmonton. Ken Holland has been clear about supporting both goaltenders. It's just intriguing because at 44%, Jack Campbell is probably going to be out there in a lot of your leagues. So if you are able to maybe jump on this situation, I'm not ready to say that Stuart Skinner is not the number one. I'm not ready to say that Jack Campbell is. but it's maybe looking a little bit more like a split in Edmonton, which we weren't expecting. By the way, people, bear with me on the voice. It's going up and down. Also, shout out to all the listeners out there in my DMs, in the email inbox, on Twitter, X, however you call it, in the comments on YouTube. We are absolutely loving it. I appreciate all the support that you guys show us for real every single day. Steele and I are out here for you guys, which is why I'm trying to look at this situation and break it down with what goalie is going to get the run out. And I know it's game one. Game one's not even over. Like I said, we got to keep our eye on these goaltending situations with a team in Edmonton that, regardless of who's in the cage, I really do think is going to win a whole ton of games. So when I say, 44% owned in Yahoo for Jack Campbell, maybe you got to be going out there and taking a look. Wow, my voice is really going, guys. Let me give me a little sip here. But at the end of the day, these are the opportunities that you might be able to jump on, pounce on, and make sure that your team is optimized for winning. Jack Campbell last year had his struggles. 21, 9, and 4. The record looked nice, but an .888 save percentage is something that has to have some red flags drawn up, and that's why we thought it would be Stuart Skinner in there. They have an elite power play. They have a blue line that's much improved, bringing in Matthias Ekholm. These are the narratives that we know about. So keeping your eye on what's happening with the goaltending situation is going to give you a leg up on your competition for this upcoming season. And a lot of pressure on these Edmonton Oilers to win. Pressure on the Carolina Hurricanes as well. And I'm going to talk about Andrei Svechnikov right around the break. I'm going to hit you with my bets. I'm going to keep today short and sweet because not only is my voice going, we are missing our boy Steele, who should be here with me, holding me down. He'll be back tomorrow. But today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Snap into action this NFL season with FanDuel Sportsbook, our favorite sportsbook and official sportsbook of Locked On, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use, and a wide range of betting options include spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season in style. That's FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
What's up, guys? Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils here, and let me tell you something about Discover. If you like using your debit over credit, I just learned about something that's definitely a game changer. Discover Cashback Debit. It's a checking account that rewards everyone with cashback on everyday purchases. That means you can get cash back on NHL tickets or head-to-toe hockey gear to make this season a total win. Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thursday episode. I'm riding solo. I'm on the ones and twos here. The audio might be a bit choppy because of my voice, but I continue to show love to you guys who show love to us. The Edmonton Oilers situation was the first one that I wanted to talk about. It's intriguing that Campbell might be getting the run out first over Stuart Skinner, but given all that money they have invested, maybe it's not. And when you look at what the Carolina Hurricanes have invested into Andrei Svechnikov, who tore his ACL back in March, he was expected to be ready this season for the start of it. 23-year-old power forward had 23 goals, 32 assists last year in 64 games. And I think Steele and I have highlighted kind of maybe at length, this guy brings the hits. He brings the PIMs. He really can be a banger league fantasy beauty. And, 2 years ago, 69 points in 78 games. An ACL injury is an ACL injury. And if we're going to talk about the impact before I even just touch on that fantasy side of things, because I think I saw him slide in a number of drafts this year, Andrei Svechnikov's absence from this lineup. Yeah, they brought in Bunting. So up front right now, it's looking like Bunting, Aho, and Jarvis. I love me some Seth Jarvis. Teravainen, Kotkaniemi, and Nate Cash on the second line. The bottom six leaves a lot to be desired, and we already know, as I bring up these numbers, that the Carolina Hurricanes can struggle to score goals. And when you look at goals for in that Metro division, they fall behind the Rangers and the Devils, and they finish just ahead of the Pittsburgh Penguins. They struggle to get shots on net at times. This is such a balanced squad from a defensive perspective that you cannot help but feel the pressure of offensive production. And losing a guy like Svechnikov is going to really, really hurt this team. To start, at least, I think the pressure is also on in Carolina. Yeah, they've been there. Yeah, they've been making noise in the postseason, but they haven't gotten it done. And before I come back to the fantasy side of Svechnikov, while I take another sip while my voice goes here, guys, shout out if you're still holding it down, because this probably is a tough one to listen to. Hold it down. Svechnikov needs to be healthy, and he needs to be an active producing piece for this club for it to succeed. I really believe in that. And we know he is a stud on the fantasy side of things, because looking at it overall, 347 games in the NHL, he's been able to produce 264 points while also bringing the body, bringing the PIMs, filling out those categories, and he gets over 200 shots a year. I'd like to see him shoot the puck a lot more. I say that a whole ton, but it's true. And I think if he can come back and this team can settle in offensively, they brought in Dmitry Orlov, they bring in Michael Bunting. We know the goaltending is absolutely stacked. They sent Kochetkov to the AHL the other day. This is one of those situations that they can't just keep knocking on the door and not punching through it. They haven't made the Stanley Cup. They need to get some more success in the postseason. And I think, honestly, they're going to get it done this year. I'm buying into what's going on in Carolina, even though the Metro is absolutely stacked. Don't need to talk about that so much, because I think we really have covered how much we've improved in the Eastern Conference. I say we as a collective, but that's how it's going. I'm taking a look at Edmonton. I'm taking a look at Carolina. You got to be taking a look at all of these situations that are already in flux. And thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Sleeper. Today's episode is brought to you by the Sleeper app. The NHL season is here, and the fantasy fanatics know we've been yearning for it all year long. We love the NHL, and we know you do too, and that's why we got to tell you about the Sleeper app. The Sleeper app is the official daily fantasy app of the NHL and the Lockdog Network, and it's our go-to for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey. With Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash on daily fantasy. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's Locked On NHL. See Sleeper's terms for use of details.
If you're a business owner, listen up. Your company could be mentioned right here. With the NHL season right around the corner, Locked On has a special locals-only NHL kickoff package. 2 local businesses, yes, only 2 local businesses can sponsor this podcast for the upcoming NHL season. Find out how you can get this exclusive sponsorship and hear your business on this podcast. Text the word advertising to 33777. or visit LockedOnPodcasts.com/advertising and let us know who you are. Our team will assist you to achieve advertising success with Locked On. Once again, text the word advertising to 33777 or visit LockedOnPodcasts.com/advertising. We look forward to hearing from you.
Guys, thank you so much for holding me down on this Thursday episode. It's short and sweet, and it's a little sketch because my voice is right out the door on this one. This actually never happened to me. I'm kind of lucky given how many episodes we usually put down on a daily basis. But the main reason is that you're still tuned in, aside from me spitting down these big-time bets in a hot minute here, is that the NHL season is back, and there have been some questionable things going on. I'm not even going to touch on the NHL's decision on Pride tape, on jerseys, on all of that, because that was a little bit ridiculous. But you came here for the news, the bets, and the fantasy takes. So I'm going to try a little bit harder as my voice goes to deliver just that for y'all. First couple nights of betting have been interesting, have been profitable. But like I said a couple days ago, you got to be dialing those bets back at this time of year. Speaking of which, let me hit you with my first one for this 7-game betting board. I'm looking at this Dallas game. I'm looking at the Dallas Stars at home against St. Louis. The money line opened here, guys, at minus 220 for Dallas. Shout out to FanDuel for all the updated odds. But I just don't see it here for the value on the Dallas Stars. And we know the St. Louis Blues are the St. Louis Blues and should struggle, but they are 5-4-1 in their last 10 against Dallas. And I actually don't see the value unless maybe you want to lay a same game parlay on taking Dallas on the money line. And I go over to Jason Robertson, RoboCop. I'm going with the anytime assist. The odds are fluctuating, so make sure you go out there and jump on the best one. But I think Jason Robertson, after the performance that he put up last year, not only has he established himself as an absolute star in this league, he's established himself as one of a betting darling's favorite to go at each night. And with a player prop angle, this guy is a stud. In 7 career regular season games, he has 7 points, 3 goals, and 4 assists. So hit me with the RoboCop, Jason Robertson, anytime assist against St. Louis on Thursday night. I think the Blues are going to actually get theirs in this game. I know there's a lot of expectations on Dallas. I know that Dallas is one of the favorites out of the West. Might be a little bit of a letdown spot going up against the Blues in the home opener. That's the only angle I'm taking. Buy into it if you will or not. But Robertson has performed in his 7 games, point per game player against the Blues over his regular season career. So let's go with the Jason Robertson anytime assist for my first pick. My second pick, Rangers on the money line here heading into Buffalo. Again, a lot of hype around this Buffalo team, and for very, very good reason. We're not even going to come to the conversation on hating on the Buffalo Sabres because I think they are about to arrive in a very big way. But the New York Rangers have been here. They're established. Shesterkin is not Devin Levi. The blue line stacked with studs and Fox, Trouba, Keandre Miller. I'm going to go with the Rangers on the money line, paying a nice odd at minus 125. Also, let me hit you with this. The New York Rangers haven't lost against the Buffalo Sabres in 10 straight games, a 7-0-3 record. That's not only impressive. Over the last 13 overall, 10-3 against the Buffalo Sabres. So let's ride with the Rangers here. Sorry, guys. Really, my voice is brutal. Holy, here we go. Last pick, lock of the night. Seattle Kraken on the road, head into playing against a Nashville Predators team that, it's one game, didn't look too good in number 1 against the Lightning. Seattle, 4-1-1 in the last 6 head-to-head. And let me just bring up this number. Last year, Seattle was one of the best road teams in the league, 26-11-4. Only Edmonton and Colorado had more road wins than the Seattle Kraken last year, and I'm going to ride with that angle in this one. Give me the Kraken on the money line, minus 110 as my lock of the night. And guys, I got to sign off in a hurry here. I hope today has been at least a little bit listenable. Voices all over the place. Thursday should be some tasty hockey action. We'll be back on Friday with both Steele and I to break down all of your fantasy hockey needs. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. And make sure you continue to tap in across all platforms you find your favorite and hottest content. We'll be back tomorrow. Thank you for joining us.
If you're a business owner, listen up. Your company could be mentioned right here. With the NHL season right around the corner, Locked On has a special locals-only NHL kickoff package. 2 local businesses, yes, only 2 local businesses can sponsor this podcast for the upcoming NHL season. Find out how you can get this exclusive sponsorship and hear your business on this podcast. Text the word advertising to 33777. or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising and let us know who you are. Our team will assist you to achieve advertising success with Locked On. Once again, text the word advertising to 33777 or visit lockedonpodcast.com/advertising. We look forward to hearing from you. Hey, Prime members, you can listen to this Locked On podcast ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today.